Galactic Broadcast. Telstar 8472. Universal Cycle 904.22. With the capture of Elijah Cross, the human species is now considered officially extinct. The Qatar Dominion thanks all citizens for their vigilance. Glory to the Order. The broadcast looped across every major channel, a sterile voice layered over an image of a lone figure in chains, silhouetted against a cold metal cell. No sound. No struggle. Just the slow turn of the prison satellite, the maw, orbiting the event horizon of a black hole. The galaxy moved on. Except one stolen freighter didn't. The Calypso's Gambit was a ship that should have been put down years ago, if ships had mercy killings. The hull was a quilt of scavenged plates from 6 different war eras. Its engines coughed every time they jumped, and a suspicious humming came from somewhere near the life support system that no one dared investigate. Captain Kira Rains slammed the rusted console with the heel of her boot. The star map blinked and flickered into clarity. "There," she said, pointing to the swirling maelstrom of gravity and madness on the screen. "The maw, that's where they've got him." "Correction," said Juno Martinez from beneath a pile of wiring. "That's where they had him. Signal's been dead for 12 hours. Kira crossed her arms, squinting at the data. "He was alive when the message sent. And if Cross is still breathing, he's not sitting still." Sparks, so named for both her hacking skills and the state of her hair, rose, grease-smudged and frowning. "He's not just alive. He's doing something. That signal was spliced into Qatarian subspace using pre-collapse Terran code, stuff even I have trouble deciphering." "Your modesty is overwhelming," Kira muttered, but there was a flicker of a smirk. "Guys," a soft voice interrupted, "you might want to see this." Tessari floated into the room, barefoot, holding a dusty hard-copy book like it was holy scripture. Her skin shimmered faintly violet under the emergency lights, and her 4-fingered hand gently turned a page with reverence. Kira raised a brow. "Didn't realize bedtime stories were mission-critical now." "It's a quote," Tessari said, eyes wide. "From the message Cross sent. He embedded a line from Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." "He's speaking in human metaphors. That wasn't a distress call." Kira stepped closer. "What was it?" Tessari looked up. "A challenge." Something clanged from the engine bay, followed by a warbled squawk. Boomer emerged, his jacket half burned and his goggles crooked. He held a steaming metal box in one hand and a chicken in the other. "False alarm," he announced. "Quantum coffee brewer tried to achieve sentience again. Lucille handled it." No one asked why the chicken was named Lucille. They never did. "Boomer," Kira said slowly. "Can you rig a stealth shield strong enough to get us past Qatar long-range scanners?" He licked a finger, touched the air, nodded. "If Sparks doesn't mind losing her toaster." "It's not a toaster," she snapped. "It's a signal amplifier. And fine. Take it." Kira looked at her crew. One ex-soldier with authority issues, one neurotic genius with a screw loose, one starry-eyed alien anthropologist, and one demolitionist who may or may not have survived a brain-burst mine. And somehow this was the best hope the last human had. "All right," she said. "Saddle up. We've got a dead man to rescue." The maw didn't welcome visitors. It hung above the black hole like a spider crouched on its web, vast tendrils of power and shield coils holding it just above annihilation. It rotated in slow defiance of nature's pull, cloaked in layers of gravity distortion and auto-targeting drones. As the Calypso's gambit dropped from FTL, its lights dimmed and hull shimmered into stealth mode. Boomer's makeshift cloak, built from stolen Qatarian mirror plates and a heat sink filled with cold brew concentrate, worked better than expected. "Approaching restricted perimeter," Sparks reported, chewing the corner of a data tablet. "We've got 5 minutes before the patrols sweep this sector again." "Plenty of time," Kira said. "Tess?" "I've isolated the language nodes from the last transmission," Tessari replied, eyes scanning a floating interface of alien dialects. Cross-used subtextual glyphs from ancient Qatar prisoner code. He was counting steps, timing guards. Sparks whistled. He was mapping the prison through poetry. Kira's eyes hardened. "Told you he wasn't just sitting still." Boomer stepped forward, cradling a device that looked suspiciously like a lunchbox covered in wires. "We crack the outer wall, get in, find Cross, and get out before the sun explodes." "There is no sun," Tessari said gently. "Exactly," Boomer replied with a grin. Kira turned to the viewport, watching the maw grow larger, more menacing. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was about legacy, about proving that humanity wouldn't go quietly into extinction. "Strap in," she said. "Time to remind the galaxy why you don't cage humans." The maw loomed like a wound in space, sprawling tendrils of ionized metal clutched against the pull of the black hole below, pulsing with red light. No alarms, no hails, just silence. The kind that suggested anything foolish enough to approach had already been forgotten. Inside the Calypso's gambit, no one breathed easy. "Scanning complete," Sparks murmured, hands flicking across the console. "Multiple entry vectors, all suicidal." Kira stood behind her, arms crossed. "Pick the one that gets us killed slowest." Boomer coughed into his fist. "I favor the garbage chute." Sparks blinked. "You... what?" "The central waste shaft," he said, gesturing with a half-eaten protein bar. "Cycles every 12 minutes. Opens to space for 4 seconds. Just enough time to slide in if you're not attached to anything important. Like dignity." Kira gave him a long look. "How do you know this?" Boomer grinned. "Did time here, briefly, until the guards noticed I wasn't actually a prisoner. Fun week." Tessari peered at the shifting data streams. "That shaft runs directly adjacent to the slave maintenance corridors. We could bypass most of the security zones." "See?" Boomer said, throwing a thumb over his shoulder. "Genius! With feathers." Lucille, perched on his shoulder, clucked approvingly. "Then that's our way in," Kira decided. "Prep the suits. We go in 10. 10 minutes later, 4 shapes drifted silently in the void, strapped to slabs of reworked hull plating and aiming for the ugliest opening in galactic history. A jagged, blinking tunnel that spewed intermittent debris and vapor into space like the station was spitting. Sparks muttered over the comms, "I have never regretted a decision more than this one." "Focus," Kira said. "Timers synced?" "On your mark," Tessari replied, clutching her handheld reader like it was a holy relic. Boomer was humming. Something cheerful and wildly inappropriate. The chute blinked open. A torrent of compressed waste exploded into the black, narrowly missing the team. "Go!" Kira shouted. They kicked forward. The chute was worse inside. Sludge and ice crystals spun past them in zero-G. The walls were slick with freezing condensation and who knew what else. Sparks activated magnetic anchors on her boots and thudded against the inner shaft, gripping hard. "Paths clear to maintenance," she called out. "There's a vent system 2 meters left." Tessari floated by, whispering fragments of a prayer to ancient Terran explorers. Kira followed, eyes sharp, pistol in hand. Boomer came last, twisting through the air, upside down, whistling. The crawl space beyond the chute was narrow and dim, pipes hissing and twitching like veins in a creature too large to comprehend. Every turn whispered with the possibility of detection. Every vibration could be footsteps. And then they heard them. A patrol. 3 Qatar guards, hulking mantis-like creatures in obsidian armor, stalked the corridor ahead, plasma halberds in hand. Their footfalls sent tremors through the metal. Kira raised a fist. Halt! They couldn't fight. Not here. Boomer pointed to the overhead grates. He mouthed, "Diversion." Sparks grimaced. "Please tell me you didn't bring an explosive." "I brought 2, Boomer said proudly, holding up a vial of glowing blue liquid. Before she could object, he twisted the top and yeeted it down a side tunnel. It rolled to a stop behind a maintenance door. 3, 2, 1. Flash. A burst of dazzling light and high-pitched laughter erupted from the vial, echoing like a demonic helium balloon. The guards snapped to attention, weapons drawn, and bolted toward the noise. "Move!" Kira hissed. They slipped past like shadows, hearts racing. They reached the service deck without incident, an eerie catacomb of forgotten machines and flickering terminals. Sparks plugged into a port with her cybernetic arm, frowning. "This shouldn't be possible." "What?" Kira asked, scanning the perimeter. "This whole system, it's been looped. Someone's overwritten the prison's command nodes with recursive false data. Every camera, every patrol schedule, even the life support routing, it's all a lie." Kira's eyes narrowed. "Cross." Tessari knelt beside a wall panel. "He's left markers. Look, faint scratches. English letters hidden in alien symbols. Move south. Stay below. He sees everything." "Vrex?" Kira muttered. The name carried weight. Warden Vrex was a legend among the Dominion, a sadist with a genius for psychological warfare. He didn't just break prisoners, he unmade them. Entire species had gone extinct under his watch, their legacies crushed before they ever reached appeal. If Cross was still sane, it was a miracle. If he was out, it was a problem. A good one, but still a problem. "Team," Sparks said, eyes widening. "There's more." She turned her display to show them a flickering map of the prison's interior. "Cross isn't hiding. He's moving, coordinating traps, misdirection. He's been fighting back." Kira stared at the blinking icon. The last human, alone, turning the most secure prison in the galaxy into a game board. "Get me a fix on his route," she ordered. "We find him before Vrex does." Boomer cracked his knuckles. "Do we hug him or shoot him if he's gone feral?" "Depends," Kira said, smirking, "on whether he's still quoting Churchill." 20 minutes later, they reached the cell where Elijah Cross had last been seen. It was empty. No blood, no body, just a stripped-down cot, a broken shackled chain, and a single word burned into the far wall with what looked like a laser scalpel. "Run!" Beneath it, more scratches. A riddle, barely legible. "A prison is a mirror. Find the cracks, and you find the way out." Sparks exhaled slowly. "He's alive, and he's turned this place into his playground." Kira stepped back, processing. This wasn't a rescue anymore. This was a relay. Elijah Cross had already started the war. Now it was their turn to carry the flame. She looked at her crew. Grim. Tired. Ready. "Let's crack the mirror." The maw was bleeding, not from its hull but from its control. Systems glitched. Patrols vanished. Lights flickered without pattern. Across its shadowed corridors, An invisible force was unwinding the Dominion's prized prison from the inside out. And somewhere within it all, the last human was laughing. "Another trap just went off," Sparks whispered, scanning a hijacked security node. "East quarter, 2 guards unconscious, left hanging upside down from a ventilation grate." "Classic Cross," Kira muttered, tapping her earpiece. "Tess, you and Boomer still tracking his trail?" "Sort of," Tesseri replied, her voice crackling. "The path keeps shifting, like he wants us to follow, but not too fast." Boomer's voice joined in. "Also, we found a vending unit that exploded into glitter. Pretty sure that was him." They were moving fast now, room to room, corridor to corridor, chasing a ghost who refused to die quietly. Every few meters, Cross left something behind. Not weapons, not messages, ideas. A scratched quote in a stairwell. "You may chain my body, but my mind remains free." A schematic in a power junction, rerouting current to fry surveillance nodes. A child's drawing pinned to a wall, crude stick figures. 1 human, 4 others, all holding hands. Sparks stopped cold at the last one. "He knew we were coming?" Kira didn't answer. She was staring down a hallway of scorched walls and smoking drones, her jaw clenched. "Or worse," she said. "He planned it." The cell blocks were chaos. Guards rushed from corridor to corridor like headless mechs, responding to alarms that didn't exist. Doors opened and sealed at random. Artificial gravity flipped for 5 seconds every 20 minutes. The whole prison had become a sentient funhouse, with a mean streak. And Vrex was catching on. He'd dispatched his elite, 6 armored Qatar called the Harvesters. Silent, methodical, unflinching. They didn't patrol. They hunted, and they were closing in. Tessari heard them first, those soft thuds echoing from above. She yanked Boomer down just in time as a spear of plasma slammed into the wall beside them. "Company!" she shouted. Boomer rolled, flung a magnetic charge upward, and the ceiling exploded, showering them in debris. One harvester dropped like a stone, its exosuit sparking. Kira's team regrouped fast. "Fall back to the rec yard," she barked. "We'll funnel them in." The recreation yard had once hosted forced combat tournaments. Now it was a graveyard of shattered barriers and scorched sand, perfect for an ambush. Boomer set charges along the entryway while Sparks hacked into the overhead floodlights. Tessari climbed to a viewing platform, scanning the approach with her alien eyes. "They're coming," she said. "Good," Kira whispered. "Let's show them what human adaptability looks like." The first harvester entered, with all the grace of a predator. Boomer's charges went off, flash and concussion, but the thing powered through, armor melting off like dead skin. Kira met it head on, no flourish, no ceremony, just grit. She ducked its blade, drove her fist into its throat, and jammed a stolen Dominion shock baton into its back. It screamed, high and metallic, and crumpled. The others followed fast. Sparks activated the lights, blinding them. Boomer lobbed a gravity mine, sending 2 harvesters spinning skyward, limbs flailing. Tessari, calm as breath, hurled a stolen pulse grenade into the fray and watched it sing. 5 down, 1 left. It moved faster than the others. Smarter. Its blade carved a gash through Sparks's side before anyone could blink. "Juno!" Kira shouted. "I'm fine," Sparks gasped, half-conscious, still hacking the harvester's visor from her wrist. The machine stumbled, blinded, and Kira took the chance. She launched herself at it, driving both knees into its chest, yanking its helmet free. And there, inside, was a face. Not Qatar, not any species she recognized. "Biosynthetic," she whispered. "They're not just soldiers. They're experiments." Boomer walked up and dropped a grenade inside the thing's neck cavity. Recalled for defective attitude. Boom. After the smoke cleared, Kira knelt beside Sparks. She was pale, bleeding, but grinning. Hell of a party, Sparks rasped. Did we win? Kira nodded. You always wanted a dramatic scar. Pfft, I was aiming for morally ambiguous limp. Tasari scanned her vitals. She'll recover. Human biology is difficult to kill. Boomer raised a brow. Speaking from experience? I dated a Terran once, she replied solemnly. He ate fire peppers and laughed. They all looked at her. What? Tasari asked. Kira smiled. Nothing. Remind me to ask you more about that once we're not actively dying. Later, in a makeshift shelter beneath the burned-out exercise pavilion, they found it. A metal panel pulled back. A tunnel, carved by hand. And on the wall beside it, written in grease. You made it. Good. The real prison is deeper. Come find me. EA. Boomer stared into the dark. I've done a lot of crazy in my day, but following a half-mad legend through his homebrewed rat maze inside a hellhole orbiting a black hole? He paused. I'm in. Kira stood slowly, helping Sparks to her feet. He's not crazy, she said. He's human. The tunnel was tight, choked with wires, hot with recycled air, and at the far end, a single hatch, marked with a sigil none of them recognized, a circle with 5 lines extending outward, like a hand or a star. Tasari touched it gently. This isn't just a rescue anymore. No, Kira said. He's building something. The tunnel spat them out into darkness, not just unlit, engineered darkness, a blank space in the Maw's schematic, a dead zone where cameras went blind, sensors lied, and heat signatures vanished into static. It was Cross's domain. The hatch sealed behind them. With it, the noise of the prison, the sirens, the screaming metal, the chaos, faded like a bad memory. What remained was silence and breath. A single, low light flickered on. There he stood, Elijah Cross, thin, gaunt, beard grown wild, eyes sharp enough to cut steel. The prison had tried to grind him down, but it had only sanded away the unnecessary. What was left was pure. About damn time, he said, voice dry but steady. I was starting to think nobody got the invitation. Kira stepped forward. You left breadcrumbs through a war zone, started a prison revolt, and turned the galaxy's deadliest death trap into a booby-trapped Rube Goldberg machine. Cross shrugged. Seemed rude to leave without redecorating. Boomer folded his arms. You insane, or just dramatic? Both, Sparks rasped, limping in. Definitely both. Cross's eyes flicked to her. For the first time, his mask cracked. You all right, Juno? Been better, but I got the band back together. He looked at the rest. Tasari, with her quiet intensity. Boomer, chaos incarnate. Kira, fire behind steel. You came, he said. Not a question, just awe. Damn right, Kira replied. But this isn't just a jailbreak anymore, is it? Cross turned, gesturing them deeper. Number, it's a revolution. The chamber beyond was impossible. It looked like the inside of a war god's brain, massive curved walls, lined with tech stolen from a dozen civilizations, rewired Dominion AI cores, black market jump nodes, a Terran prototype reactor humming like a thunderstorm under glass. What is this? Tesseri whispered. Sanctuary, weapon, archive, Cross said. The Maw was never a prison, not really. It's a testing site, a vault of species pushed to their limits, studied for Dominion use. Every genius, rebel, and outlier in here, dissected, data-banked, disposed of. Boomer winced. That's not super chill. I survived by making myself useful, Cross continued, fixing their systems, mapping their protocols. They thought I was tamed. He turned, eyes blazing. I wasn't. He activated a holo map of the maw. Red points lit up: guard nodes, command systems, weapons platforms. Then blue, his modifications, his virus. "I wrote a seed," he explained. "It infects Dominion code, makes it recursive, forces logic loops, corrupts targeting, disables hierarchy control." Sparks blinked. "You weaponized bureaucracy." "Exactly. I figured, why fight their machines when I could confuse the ones programming them?" Boomer clapped slowly. "You beautiful lunatic." "But it needs a trigger," Cross said, stepping toward the core. "Final access. It has to be manual, from the heart of the maw." "Let me guess," Kira said. "The most secure point in the station?" "Command spire, top deck, Vrex's throne." They went up the old-fashioned way, climbing service shafts, hijacking lifts, riding grav-flicker surges that spat them from floor to floor. Cross guided them like a ghost through his own haunted house, rerouting paths in real time, collapsing bridges behind them. At one point, Vrex's voice flooded the system. "Elijah Cross, you persist, but you are alone." Cross stopped, smiled, tapped his throat mic. "No," he said, "I'm human." The command spire was a black cathedral of dominance, glass and steel, spiraling data, projections of every Dominion world, and at the center, Warden Vrex, 10 feet tall, coated in iridescent armor, a face like an insect carved from obsidian. He turned, eyes glowing with cold, cruel certainty. "You are not special," he told Cross. "You are a failed species. Sentiment, chaos, emotion. You cannot win." Cross stepped forward. "We already did." "The second you underestimated us," Vrex charged. Boomer leapt in first, slapping an overcharged grenade to the warden's leg and flying backward from the blast. Sparks hobbled to a console, fingers blurring across alien glyphs. "Cross, interface port, open." Tessari fired cover bolts from the mezzanine, each pulse driving Vrex further from the core. Kira tackled the monster head-on. They fought like fury forged in flesh, bone against blade, muscle against machine. Vrex threw her back, slashing deep, but Kira only grinned through the blood. "Is that all?" she gasped. "I've wrestled Terran bears with more bite." Cross reached the terminal, slid in the drive, locked eyes with Vrex. "This is for Earth," he said, and triggered the seed. The station screamed, not audibly but through systems. Lights died, gravity failed, weapons turned inward. Every Dominion AI began to loop, restart, break. Across the maw, prisoners ran free. Ships docked in secret bays reactivated. 100 species, all considered broken, discarded, hopeless, rose. The maw was no longer a prison. It was a beacon. They escaped through a stolen cruiser, rattling, bleeding, laughing. Behind them, the maw began to tear itself apart, one infected command at a time. "Where to now?" Boomer asked, wiping blood from his forehead. "Anywhere we want," Kira said. Sparks smiled weakly. "Let's go home." Cross stared out the viewport, eyes distant. "There is no home? Not yet." He looked back at them. "But we can build one." Epilogue. The Dominion never recovered from the Maw's fall. Across the galaxy, their systems began to stutter. Codes infected, orders lost. The virus Cross had built wasn't just a weapon. It was a seed of defiance, and it spread like wildfire. The last human had been captured. But humanity had never been just one body. It was an idea. And now that idea was everywhere.